Good afternoon from Seattle, and to the rest of the country where it's already afternoon as well. Starting a little bit late, usually do these at 11 o'clock Pacific time every day. And what we're doing is during the Blog for Good campaign to institute a program of lawyers from coast to coast and associated with various bar associations and major law firms and whatnot that are cooperating is to get more and more lawyers blogging. And by just nature of where things are at today, it's all about the pandemic and the virus and the legal issues that arise out of that, whether it's relating to consumers, small business people, corporations, in-house counsel, you name it. It's run across the board. What LexBlog is doing with the initiation of the Blog for Good campaign is empowering lawyers to blog that are not blogging by providing them the platforms at low cost or free if they need them, and showcasing the good blogging of the lawyers that are already blogging. At the same time, I'm going to run through 845 points that I think make for effective blogging. And this is going 1 point a day. So we're only going to be 4 points in today. This is going to continue into July. They'll all be broadcast here on Facebook Live, and they'll also go up onto YouTube and a channel there. We'll get them transcribed for further information, and maybe at some point get this reduced to a book so that you have just the opportunity to pick up this information. But what we're talking about today, and before I forget, the New York hat is really to recognize, the great work that they've done in New York at bringing down the bell curve. So I'm on the opposite coast, but kudos to all of you and what you've done. And from what I hear, New York is getting ready to open up. May not be the same, but it could be better than it even was before. And some of the things that they're doing and proposing now. So when you think back to what we're faced with, compared to now, coming up on Memorial Day, pretty amazing to bring that curve back down. So kudos to the New York and Queens, where I was born. So what we're talking about today is establishing goals. And what often happens with lawyers, law firms, any legal professional when they start a blog is they have a goal is to have a blog. And I'm serious. I mean, they'll say, well, our practice group wants to have a blog. Well, what's the goal? Well, we need to have a blog. Our practice group has to have it. Why? Well, somebody, the partner head for the practice group thinks we ought to have it. Why? Well, everybody has one. There's other firms that have them. We think we should have them. There really is not goals that you would think of from a standpoint that as to people would have a goal. I mean, if somebody's going to go run a marathon, they're probably going to put a time on it. They're not going to say, because I run a marathon because somebody else does it or what type of thing. You have some goals attached to it, and they should be real, and you should write them down on a piece of paper. Otherwise, what's going to happen is when you get the end of a year, you're not going to understand whether you've accomplished anything or not, because you're going to have wandering generalities as far as what we thought we were going to do, and nobody's held accountable in the process. The other thing you're going to have to do is you're going to fall for anything, because somebody's going to come along and say you should do it for this reason, do it for that reason, do it for that reason. And when you don't have any goals, you have nothing to line it up to see if that's real or not. So you want to say, why are we having a blog? And there could be a myriad of reasons that you're having a blog. It could be to improve my lawyering skills in a particular area of law. Nothing would be better than following other writers and developments in the news and whatnot, and sharing your insight and commentary as you read it. It could be nothing more than, taking a block quote and sharing it, and citing the person and saying what you thought as a result of it. If you did that twice a month, it's 26 thoughts that go through that in the course of a year. You'd probably be a better lawyer in the process. That could be one goal. Goal could be to write better. I mean, I know that sounds silly, but it could be. And maybe it's to write as people write as opposed to how lawyers write. Maybe it is develop business, which is a lot of people's goal. If it's develop business, how am I going to measure that? A lot of people will fall to stats and traffic, and they don't really think of it in the beginning, but they do. And I tell them, if you're going to fall to stats and traffic, and usually what they're thinking about is somehow that ties to revenue, which is a tremendous leap of faith, that somehow, web traffic generates to revenue. If you want a story, I can share mine from when everything was page views in 1999 during the .com. And then somebody found out the emperor had no clothes, and the whole dot-com economy crashed because it wasn't going to be based on page views and traffic as a sign of valuations for companies. And there's nothing that your CFO or your accountant has that keeps track of that says, can you get me the stats and traffic? Because we include those in the financial reports for, the people that are managing your firm. It's just not done. And so it has to be based on sound things, on, what is the reason for it. And the other thing that I will tell you, and LexBlog's been around since, end of 2003, beginning of 2004, never once have we done things to chase stats. I wouldn't know how to get to the stats on my blog. I wouldn't have an idea, where to log in and to get them. I can't think of the last time I looked at where they were. And so the idea that you would use stats to arrive at something just seems very fleeting. And you're going to hear people talk about, well, put your blog in your website. Why do you put your blog in your website? Because you're going to get more traffic to your website. So it's like something that doesn't matter. We're going to pull out of over here, put it over here to have more of these so that I can get credit for doing something with your website. It's not stats and it's not traffic that should be your goal. I would rather have the goal of being recognized as a leading lawyer in employment law in Connecticut. That's Dan Schwartz I'm going to be talking to momentarily as soon as we're done here. Maybe it is I would like to, by the end of my second year of blogging, I would like to be making incrementally more in revenue that I'm personally bringing into the firm of at least $1 million more. Maybe it's at 4 years I would like to be bringing incrementally more into the firm or to myself, $2 or $3 or $4 million more. And those are real things. Those are real things that could happen. And you can do that through blogging. There are women and men around this country that are bringing in millions of dollars only because they blogged and only because of the relationships they built on the blog. It wasn't because of web stats and traffic that they blogged and somehow they picked up these great clients, whether they're at a consumer level or at a business level. So I would look at the revenue side. I really would. Because other people are doing it. What makes you any lesser than they would be? You should look at the revenue side. And anybody that says, well, you really can't tell where the work is coming from when it's coming from a blog. And I hear that all the time. We don't know where the work is coming from when it's coming from a blog. Somehow like there's going to be a button there that a large corporation is going to click and say, well, that's my lawyer. I like the way they blog. I think I'll hire them for this major deal. Or even a consumer. Nobody's going to hire a probate lawyer because they're going to push a button on a blog and now we can track it. But any good lawyer knows where their work comes from. They know it. Somebody will say, I got your name from so-and-so. So-and-so you may have had a relationship with because of a blog. So some people actually will contact you and say, really like following your blog. We like it. We've been big followers for years. I've had lawyers tell me, big followers of your blog for years. It's a major corporation. And they're meeting people in their in-house counsel group, or it could be in their HR group. It could be various types of things. But it is revenue. And you should sit there and align it with revenue. And if you're sitting there practicing, if you're doing it in a practice group, you got 6 or 8 or 12 people, you're just blogging because somebody says you got to do a blog post every 2 weeks, and the other person's got to do a blog post every 2 weeks. And we're doing it because, we've got this many stats or this many subscribers, and nobody's aligning it to revenue. To me, that just seems the height of folly, because lawyers are billing out, anywhere from $300 to $800, some $1,000 an hour, and they're going to spend 2 hours on a blog post or 3 hours on a blog post, and there it goes right out the door. It would be a total waste of money to say we're doing it for stats. So I would be aligning it to revenue. I mentioned before, being a better lawyer. I tend to meet bloggers that blog their own stuff. I'm not meeting people that have a content writer that used to practice law or be a journalist that puts up stuff for the lawyer. Because it doesn't do much for the lawyer's acumen from blogging. How's your career growing now that your blog is growing, or your blog is going on and somebody else is blogging for you? It'd be like sending somebody else out to law school for you. You're getting to be a better law student, and you're going to be prepared to be a lawyer. Somebody went for you. Blogging is a thing that improves your skills as a lawyer. It improves your analysis of issues. It allows you to see things out there that other people don't see. It allows you to be a better lawyer for your clients. Those lawyers that blog are better lawyers for their clients. Those lawyers that hire somebody else to blog for them, I mean, first of all, it's probably unethical because it's misleading not to disclose that you didn't write what the public believes that you wrote. But secondly, it's just a hollow, awful thing that isn't doing anything to improve the lawyer's skills. So you're losing out on just a tremendous opportunity. And the last thing, is what if you understood the net? Understanding the net doesn't mean that you understand how to run a Google search. It understands how to use the net as a communications medium to build relationships, to build a reputation, to build your name for a lawyer, to become a better lawyer. It's now 2020. In 1996, when I started to use the internet as a practicing lawyer to answer questions and whatnot, I didn't know anything about it. And quite frankly, beginning in 2003, when I'm getting ready to start LexBlog, I didn't know anything about blogs or blogging or anything like it. But what if lawyers could begin to understand the internet and from 1996 to 2020, the number of lawyers that understand how to use the internet compared to 96 is damn few. They really don't have a clue. They have no idea how the internet is used as a communications medium, how to listen first, and then how to engage the people that you're listening to, and how to do that in a strategic way so that you're framing the room and begin to have a conversation with those people via your blog and the engagement you're introducing into the room after you've listened. People have no clue what that is. And then the different things that come into it. What is the role of a news aggregator? Most people haven't even heard of a news aggregator. How do you set up a news aggregator to see the type of information you'd like to see? So as you blog about that type of information, you're raising your reputation and becoming a trusted source, for other people. How do people use Twitter, in a really effective way to be able to listen to what's going on out there and to share things that people appreciate and value? How do you use LinkedIn in a way far beyond a resume? How do you use Facebook as a way to introduce all of this conversation and engagement into it? These are skills that are far, far, far beyond the average lawyer. They don't have a clue, or they say it's not them, or they say they don't have time for it, like they know how much time it takes because they've never even tried. To understand the internet and to understand how to use it in a way that can help yourself, can help your family, can help other people, is a huge thing. So I tell people, if at the end of a year you understand how to use the internet better than you did when you started to blog, wouldn't that be extraordinary? Because at that point in time, you could use the internet to do all these other things, to become the better lawyer, to raise money, to do things for your family, to do things for other people. All those things will come into play. And during that first year, you will feel those things along the way. You will feel a little bit of love from the outside world. You'll start to realize that these goals might just be accomplishable, if that's even a word. And then talk to other lawyers out there that have accomplished some of these goals. Are they real? Is it possible? Could I really do this? Because it might not be the lawyers that you know in your firm that believe in any of this. It might not even be somebody in the marketing department or the business development department in the firm, because maybe they haven't blogged to build their career personally. So what I would do is make sure you're establishing goals, write down why you're blogging, eliminate stats and statistics. You can learn things from stats as to who might be looking at it, who's subscribing to your blog. It is somewhat motivating. I would tie it to revenue so that you're putting a line item in revenue as to what I want to accomplish at year one, what I want to accomplish at year two in revenue. I would put those things in Post-it notes near my computer or wherever I'm going to be blogging. And what I want to be, we've talked about before, what areas do I want to grow my reputation in? Make that an item. I'm going to be a recognized lawyer in this area. And then I'm going to understand the net and what does it mean to understand the internet. But that's it for today. I hope you have a good rest of the day. We'll be back on tomorrow, hopefully at 11, and we'll talk about having a group blog versus an individual blog. And there's a lot of differences between the two. Take care.